All right, so that brings us to our opinion segment, and interested to see what you guys have to say about this week's.
Sir, if I may venture an opinion.
I'm not really interested in your opinion, 3PO.
Yeah, well, that's just like your opinion, man.
All right, so at you guys' suggestion, I forget which one of you said it. We're going to talk about targeting this week, and I don't know. So
hot takes.
Yeah, I'm curious to know
incoming hot takes.
who wants to go first, because I don't know. I really don't have. I don't know that I'm going to have a ton to say on it. But I don't know. We'll see how the conversation goes. Who wants to start us?
I can. Ladies first.
Go for it.
I get to pull that card.
Yeah, do it.
I think targeting is a difficult one. I understand why it was put in place. I think it comes from like a good intentions, good place, because you want to make sure that these players are safe. I think with everything that's come out about CTE and with, damn Aaron Hernandez and like all that, like we want to just be safe. We want to, you want to do as much as you can. Yeah. And I respect that. I think that's great. However, it gets tricky because the rule is not, it's written clearly, but there are so many nuances that come up that it makes it difficult to call. I mean, you call it, right? But there are so many instances where you're like, he didn't mean to. But unfortunately, when it comes to football, when it comes to whatever, intent doesn't matter. It's just safety. And I think we've talked about this. It benefits the offense. And I get why it benefits the offense, because at that point in time, they are defenseless. But it sucks. So let's take the Georgia-Florida game and look at the targeting call there. Number, I think it was 16 for Georgia. I don't know his name.
Scene.
I apologize. Scene?
Yeah.
As in like, I synced you?
C-E-N-E.
C-I-N-E. Because, yeah.
Okay, Scene.
Yeah. Close enough.
So that play, we've got a Florida receiver who's caught a ball. There's a defender coming behind him. Mm-hmm. He's trying to, what I assume is about to cut up field. Like he's coming this way. He wants to cut up field because we can't go this way anymore. Defender's behind him. He starts to tackle him. He's about to. He's pushing him forward. Receiver's head goes down like this. Another defender comes in and he leads with the crown of his helmet. And now the defender that led with his helmet got the worst of it. That child came up and he did not know what planet he was.
I think he's out this week.
His helmet was gone. He should be. It would be very irresponsible of Georgia to put that young man in. His brain was rattled around.
Yeah.
You could just see it. Mm-hmm. And then, so he gets targeting. Naturally so. By book definition, it is targeting. He led with the crown of his helmet. Now, it can be argued that had the other defender not started to tackle the wide receiver and make him lean his head down, it wouldn't have been targeting because their helmets would not have hit. It just wouldn't have. And so it benefits the offense. That's a huge call. That guy is ejected anyways, even if he, could come back in. But it's tough because you want to protect these players, but you also can't put in the rule book caveat, because at that point you might as well just get rid of the rule. So I'm torn. I'm torn on targeting. I think it comes from a good place, but at the end of the day, it's one of those things that there are so many plays that get called for targeting that it's just stupid. And we all sit there and we're like, that's not targeting, but it kind of is. And then there's some plays that don't get called and we're like, well, if that other one was targeting, why is this not targeting? It's like, I don't know. I feel like it's the NCAA's obscenity thing, and the Supreme Court's like, I can't tell you what's obscene. I just know it when I see it. I think that's targeting, right? Like they're like, I can't tell you why that's not it, but this is it. And I just know it because I saw it.
Right.
It's tough. I know that doesn't really answer the question, but it is. It's one of those tough things to call. Just like damn pass interference. I don't know.
Yeah, well, thank goodness they review it now, and they didn't used to when they first introduced the rule. But we've been talking about this for, I haven't been doing a timer, but it's, it's been a decent while. And all the things that we're saying right now, the defender has to decide like that. And it's just like I said on Saturday when we were texting about it. I get the rule. I'm not opposed to the rule, but it's difficult. Like you just said, it definitely benefits the offense, and it's almost impossible for him to make that decision that quickly. Kirby talked about that play. And for the most part, he seemed comfortable with the way Scene did the tackle. I mean, don't get me wrong, it still would have been a vicious hit regardless of where, just because of the speed that the two of them were headed at each other. But to your point earlier about the offensive guy moving, when you're leading, the helmet and the shoulder pads are really close to each other. And depending on how the offensive guy moves, you could hit him with the helmet, you could hit him with the shoulder pads, he could hit his helmet on your helmet. And honestly, where he was directed in the beginning, he was going to hit Pitts right in the chest. Then, it's just natural. You can't, change the human reaction. But when you realize you're going to get hit, what's your first reaction? To kind of ball up, right? And that's what Pitts did. I don't
even think he was balling up. I think he would have taken that hit.
Yeah.
I think if you look back, he was actually getting pushed from behind from the other Georgia defender. But my question is for you guys, because I've never been in a tackling drill. Like I mean, I've never played football personally. And even if I had, I don't think I would have been on the defense. So when you're learning tackling, what way how do they teach it in a way where you're not leading with your helmet? Does that make sense?
I'll let Matt
I'm just trying to understand how you teach it so that this doesn't happen.
Well, the technique that that we're supposed to coach now is, it used to be back in the day, you're supposed to lead with the crown. You're supposed to lead with your helmet, is what they used to say. But the idea is that you kind of you keep your head up, you keep it to the side. You're supposed to catch them here. So you're supposed to actually kind of cross body them almost, and then wrap up.
Which you would assume too for the defender is also hopefully saving their neck, because I'm assuming if you're leading that hard with the crown of your helmet, you can honestly snap your neck.
Well,
it does happen.
We saw that with so I'm a Steelers fan watching the Steelers, and I don't know if you guys remember Ryan Shazier. He did that very thing, and that's why he's in the condition that he is right now. Thankfully, he's he's alive, and he's not able to do all the things that he wants to do, but for the most part, he's able to walk, even though it's not how he would prefer. Thankfully, he's able to have some semblance of a normal life. But if you saw that on the field, it was scary, and it was the same deal. Led with the crown of the helmet and messed up his neck big time.
So I think you want to get him in an L right here.
Kinda, yeah. Well, the thing is that when you get down to it, the human body can, if the neck's up, it can absorb that impact. It can absorb. But when the crown of the helmet's down, that's where you can't take that pressure on the back of your neck. Right. That's the reason why when we coach the middle school kids, it's always, you don't ever look at the ground when you make a tackle. Because when you look down, you're setting yourself up for a spinal injury. You always look up.
Right.
That way your body can take that pressure. Now, the problem with doing that, though, is in the way that we always taught our kids is you got to slide your head to the side. You bite the football is what we always tell them. You put your head, your face mask on the football, which if the football's down here on their side, your head's going to naturally go to that side.
Okay.
The problem you run into with a lot of these targeting calls, I feel, is there's two parties at play here: offensive player, defensive player. The defensive player can only make so many adjustments. If the offensive player adjusts just a hair the wrong way, then you do end up with that collision. And there's really not a lot you can do about it. And I think that in that particular play, there was nothing you could do. Me personally, I think there should be some sort of leeway. Maybe the white hat can make the decision about whether or not that actually was like intent to injure targeting and an incidental targeting. Like, I don't I don't think you should be ejected for an incidental targeting like that play. I don't think you should be ejected, but it wouldn't have mattered anyway because both those kids were going to get kicked out to go get concussion protocoled anyway.
Yeah.
Thank God.
Yeah, and Kirby said the
30 years ago they'd have given him some Gatorade and said, "Get your butt back out there."
Well, I mean,
and if they said my head hurts, they'd have gotten a shot so they didn't feel it.
Oh yeah, or like, what's wrong with you? Come on, toughen up. But Kirby said, I think the only thing that Scene could have done differently is to go even lower, because he was already going low below the helmet. He would have had to try to tackle him even lower to avoid that contact. But yeah,
and then you're going to jack up somebody's knee doing all that.
You're going to jack
that's
up
the thing.
someone's knee. You're going to have an injury like that poor guy, which, the tackle that messed up the guy's leg was not illegal in any way. It was a legal tackle.
Yeah.
But you get into stuff like that, or you get into what I see so much with Alabama is we just try to go so low and wrap them up by their shoestrings, and they just step out.
Right.
And then they're not wrapping up on tackled at all. It's tough. I mean, now, rules are tough, man.
To bring this around to a positive, though, I mean, so I don't know if you guys remember, because it's been a long time now, because the targeting rule has been in place for a while. But do you guys remember the days of when you would have seen a hit like we saw on Saturday, and everybody would have just been like, "Oh my gosh, that was an amazing hit." Yeah. And everybody just moves on. Like the players might be hurt, they take them off the field, but at the end of the day, it's on the highlight reel and say, "Oh man, what an amazing hit!"
Your helmet gets knocked off.
Everybody just moves on.
Your butt's right back in there.
Yeah. So to the credit of the rule, and like I said, to be what it may, even though it might help the offense, and make it difficult for the defense. And I don't envy them, because they have to make all these decisions in a split second. But like you said, we do want to protect these guys, not just now, but in the future, and all that stuff, and the lasting effects
Some of them are
that
like
this stuff
18.
can have.
Their brains are not even fully developed.
Right, exactly. So anybody have any more?
We don't need another Aaron Hernandez.
Oh my gosh! So that if you haven't watched that documentary, probably one of the most disturbing things I've ever watched. I mean, it is educational though. So anyway,
highly suggest it. It's done, I think, really well.
Yeah. All right.
Check that out.
Anybody else? All right. So that actually went a lot better than I thought it would. It was not.
Do you think we're gonna yell at each other?
No, but I did expect it to be a little more contentious. Yes. Just throw that in there, just because.
That we can only argue it so much because the rule's going to be in place regardless. Like the NCAA is not going to come out tomorrow and be like, we're just going to get rid of it. You can't do that anymore, because that would be negligent, and they're not about to do anything.
Well, and also, what are you going to say? I hate the rule. I love concussions. I mean, like, what are you going to say to that?
No one's going to be like, I'm pro concussion, actually.
Yeah.
What?
Can you imagine that at the coach debate?
Yeah, like I'm actually pro non-medicine.
Yeah.
Just no science. We're just going to be no science. Like,
and Bob, I'm really tired of the way we've gotten about safety here in the league. I really wish we'd go back to concussions. It was such a great time. So
our highlight reels looked a lot better.
Yeah.
Like, what? No.
Yeah.
Go home.
Yeah. Remember on the highlight reels, it used to be, you talk about a guy got hit real hard. You'd be like, all right, watch this guy go to sleep. Well, he actually probably was. He was actually knocked out, and it was brain damage. So
we literally, in our traditions video at Alabama, it's funny you mentioned this because I've never thought about it this way, but part of the video is called our traditions video that we play before the game.
Yeah.
I get chills every time I watch it. Like I can't, it's cool. But part of the end of the video is just hit after hit after hit of Alabama defenses just knocking the lights out of people. Now, a lot of them are completely legal hits. They're not targeting.
Right.
But I'm sure if I went back and watched some of it, I'd be like, oh my God. And when they play it in the stadium, the entire stadium, as soon as the hit happens, they go boom, boom. And you just hear it over and over. And it's really cool. But I'm thinking about it now, and those people might not be okay.
Yeah. Do you think
this
maybe
old film.
When if Gus Malzahn's in the building, do you think he doesn't understand what that's about, and he thinks that everybody's just like jumping in on his little saying there? Yeah,
probably.
Boom, boom. That's what I'm trying to tell you guys. Yeah,
the Bama guys like it. Like, no,
whatever.
No, go back to the film room. All right, that's what the visiting locker. That's what the visitors' locker room is called. Is the bail room.